Welcome to the virtual umkuku wako wolwazi, the mkuku of education. Let's go. What's up, everyone? Yo, what's up, anyone?
Anyone.
That's you, and then Kurban, this is you. This is just a wide.
So we must never look there.
You can, but this is just for reference when I edit to just come back. But that's
But if I'm not speaking to him, I'm speaking there.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Angle.
Thank you.
Siyarekhoda nje. Bayakubuka nje ukuthi udunusa la. Hayi,
A little something for the boys.
awusamfuna boys. Jesha
Are you rolling? Okay. What's up, everyone? It's Penuel, the Black Pen, and please welcome. What's happening to me today?
Isingisi boy.
Excuse.
Yeah, isingisi.
So it's Penuel, the Black Pen, and I'd like to welcome you guys to another edition of Pen and Pen. Obviously, we've got our normal gay handshake,
Yo, you're so far.
and this is my brother Penson. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. I can't get over this thing, man.
It's so dope.
It makes me so uncomfortable.
I really want.
It's this jingling sensation.
Does it make you jingle elsewhere?
It's just
That's inappropriate, Sam Smith. So inappropriate, Samuel.
Why are you going there? What makes it inappropriate? I just did this and I went jiggle.
We don't have much time today. I think we've got 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and I want us to get on some of the more trending topics.
Yeah.
I'd asked you to do a bit of research. I did a
Yeah.
bit of research, so we'll maybe chat about these things. Let me not mention them because I know sometimes when you mention topics, then you almost have to get to them and there may not be time. We can start with the first one, which is the trending Thabo Bester case. And the latest in that. Thabo Bester and Dr. Nandipa.
People are
Makutumane.
so mean. People are mean, bro. Ngibonile when you posted happy birthday to us, well, to me. And,
Sure.
you put that to
On Twitter.
On Twitter. Thabo Bester saying gani.
Jeez.
I was like, Jesus. People aren't nice.
Did you greet the people? Sorry.
Did I not? Did I?
I don't think so.
Sanibonani, guys. I hope everyone is well. Nibe grand, man. Ngiyanthanda, guys. Ngiyanthanda. But back to Thabo Bester.
Sure.
Wow, what a layered story. You know, like everyone, I've been following it. And I think what threw me off, because I've had my opinions. Like I think all of us now think we are these detectives and these media what. And what threw me off, I was watching a interview on the newsroom with a private investigator. Newsroom Africa.
Sure.
With this.
Oliver Myth.
So they're interviewing a private investigator,
Okay.
a PI, and his name is, I think, something like Andre Sneeman.
Okay.
And this guy was saying, Uguti, so he does a lot of cases and he's part of a whole group of people that share information around what is criminal acts, blah, 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 blah. And he's saying, Uguti, they're a group of like 100,000 people. I'm assuming it's media people. I'm assuming it's people who work for
They are a
Fidelity,
group of 100,000 people.
100,000 people that share information. Yeah, one.
They are a network.
They are a network
Of like
100,
intelligence.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I wouldn't just say intelligence. I would assume Uguti within this group of 100,000, there might be journalists, that want to break the latest story. There might be people that work for Fidelity or police officers, whatever the case is. But it's a 100,000 strong network.
Yeah.
And he was saying, Uguti, he had a tip-off last year, January, that there's a guy by the name of Thabo Katleho who had broken out of prison and was living in Hyde Park.
January 2022.
January 2022. So Thabo Katleho. So he goes to Hyde Park, and then he goes to the house. You know that house that they were trying to renovate and have the medical facilities, whatever.
Yeah.
But no one is living there. Next door to that house, there was a security guard. And he drives there and he goes, hey, I'm looking for a guy by the name of Thabo Katleho.
Yeah.
And he describes him. He's like, yeah, I know he lives here. Not this house that everybody that's media's going crazy about, the house next door with private security. And he's like, no, he's in and out. Maybe come back later, you'll catch him, whatever the case may be, or you'll get to talk to him. What car does he drive? He drives a white Porsche. Is this the guy? Yes. And he goes, okay, sharp. He doesn't know the big thing about Thabo Bester right now. Well,
Okay.
back then.
He just got a tip off that there's a guy
who broke out of prison. Yeah, and
And
now
he's
he's
living
living
in
a
Hyde
high
Park.
life. That one.
Okay.
So again, I'm assuming that he does like 100 different cases, So he goes there and he starts compiling certain evidence, just and then in May, this Thabo guy dies. The whole thing, him gets burnt in a cell, whatever.
Sure.
And he's like, okay, that's the end of that. Let me focus on my other cases. Kudlu November, he gets a picture of Thabo Katlego in Cape Town having lunch with a lady. Uti then takes all of this that he has from January to him dying to this picture, and then he goes to the magistrate court in Randburg and he drops it off at the magistrate court. Nah?
Yeah.
And the magistrate will process and will come back to you. Uti, to this day, no one's ever come back to him. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this Thabo guy, he's been in and out of prison doing whatever he's wanted to do.
Yeah.
We were saying, Uti, he's convincing people to have webinars saying that he's in New York.
Sure.
Nah? We saw the shit Photoshop job, right? This is a multi-millionaire.
Thabo. Okay.
This is a guy who's driving the fanciest cars, living an 8-star lifestyle.
Yeah.
This guy could have been in fucking New York. He could have been in New York. And especially with the way they're breaking it down, I'm like, this story is so layered when you backtrack it from 2011 and 2013, and so many people actually playing a role in this. It's not just, I think, and Nami, this is the investigating me. I don't just think Guti, it's this disgusting rapist murderer who manipulated this doctor and they paid off people and then it's out. I just think there's layers and layers and layers and layers.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at that shit Photoshop and you're like, from a multi-millionaire, I could have done that Photoshop. Multi-millionaire. Yeah,
But it can't just be about money, right? Sometimes you flop. We've got a president who had millions stashed in couches. He's a billionaire. And he had dollars stashed in couches.
I think that we live in such a gangster state that the gangsters don't care. They don't care because they know that there's fuck all you can do about it. So it's no different from in American Gangster when Denzel shoots a guy in the face in the middle of the road.
That's Idris Elba there in American Gangster.
Boom, he shoots him in the face. And he doesn't care because there's nothing you can do about it. And I think the gangster state that we live in, people don't care. Put out this shit Photoshop. Yeah, okay, sharp. So you found $5 million in my couch. What you gonna do? You're gonna arrest me? I was listening to Ulamula when he was getting cross-examined.
Ronald Lamula, the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services.
And he was getting cross-examined by that, Ingonyamaga Juta.
Advocate Glynis Breitenbach.
Yes. And he said something about, and when that man died in prison, he was talking about the body that was swapped or whatever.
Yes.
And when and he goes, and then he laughs. No, I'm not died, but the dead body. And he's laughing about someone who is dead and was swapped out allegedly, because it could have been someone who got burnt right there and killed, or whatever the case may be. But the way that he's laughing about it, and I'm like, listening to Peggy like the way that they're talking, it's almost like if I am a serial cheater, and I've cheated 1,000 times, and a lady walks in while I'm cheating, and I'm sending Daba because I've been caught 100 times. And you're like, you know what, if you just want to leave me, just leave me, it's fine.
So just to give an update, sorry, your shoelace is untied. You can tie it so long. So just to give an update to you guys, a lot of things have happened with the Thabo Bester case, and you can go on the internet, you can search. There's a whole lot of information. The latest that we've heard is there's been a cross-questioning of the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Ronald Lamula, about some of the issues that have happened, in particular G4S, which apparently is pronounced G-Force. That's what I heard, the G4S. Asking about the contract, we found out that the contract was R1 billion a year contract, and that currently they're not going to terminate it until, I think, 2026. That's another thing we'll speak about. Speaking about how this came to be, speaking about it seems like the privately run facilities are no different to the publicly run ones. Speaking to Peggy Cele, who's the Minister of Police, and some of the sloppy work that has been happening there, I know you speak about Newsroom Africa. There was an interview with a gentleman called Oliver Meth, who works for Ground Up. They do investigations as well, and they've had a lot of evidence from last year, which they tried to submit to the police and other authorities, and they struggled.
People assuming, Guti, that Twitter picture of them in Woolies was just a random picture. But when I'm listening to Andre Swanepoel, it doesn't seem like it was a random, accidental post. Because we can't really attribute that post to someone. We can't say, no, see, I posted that.
But isn't that trying to protect a potential witness?
Yeah, bon. And I'm feeling it could have been done strategically so that they can start this thing.
Accelerating the
and
investigation.
And showing the police, okay, there's something here. Let people in Twitter talk about it.
Hectic.
You know?
So Advocate Glynis, I think it's Glynis, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, Breitenbach has been grilling those guys. Ronald Lamula, the G4S officials as well. A lot of people are enjoying that, and I'm hoping when the trial starts, because Thabo Bester was in court recently, I think Unandipa as well, there were complaints by Thabo Bester that he might be getting poisoned in prison.
So he hasn't child,
Some people were like, but what, he was arrested in the same facility that he escaped from in Mangaung, and now he's been moved to Kgosi Mampuru. It's so messy, and there are so many questions. There's a voice note now that's also come out, apparently, of Thabo coercing Dr. Nandipa. There's a story of Thabo Bester not having an ID, and the questions of how did he set up accounts, how did he open companies, how did they manage to get through. I think Dr. Nandipa was found with 2 passports. Umama Thabo Bester is now coming out, apparently saying she wishes her son could change. We don't know who this guy is.
Did you hear the interview where they're interviewing, I think they're interviewing Unandipa, and she's eating. She's eating, and they're saying the hawks are after you. And she goes,
Your camera's there.
You know.
So I'm saying your camera's there.
No, I'm just
because you keep looking at my camera. That's mine.
I'm making the Nandipa look.
This is yours.
That's how she was looking at this guy. Like, as if, like so nonchalant, like, whatever, bro. I'm eating here.
Yeah.
And she's getting interviewed, Guti, or the hawks are after you. This is happening. You know, and she's just so chilled. And I'm like, this is such a gangster state. We might find out Uguti Unandipa is the biggest architect of all of this.
Yeah, she's the mastermind, maybe.
We might find that out. We might find out Uguti there is someone else behind the both of them, and they're just the puppets that are dancing.
Yeah.
You know, it's so crazy. And before I want to go, I want to give a shout out quickly. Can I give a shout out?
Sure.
Okay, so I was tucking my shoelace. I just want to give a shout out to Afeni Black. Hooked me up with these shoes. Thank you so much, bro. Can't wait for the rugby boots that you said you're going to send.
Rugby boots?
You said you're going to send me rugby boots.
Hectic.
You know.
So. Afeni must give us money. Well, and sneakers to give away. I think that would be dope.
That would be very dope. They're very dope. I love this.
They're expensive, by the way.
They are.
They're a specific type of leather.
Yeah, they are. What leather is it? But it's soft, dog.
Some special leather. He'll go and do research and give you a better shout out.
Yeah, well,
sorry.
It's soft.
Shout out to Afeni Black.
Yeah, shout out, brother. But when I'm unpacking this and so
you will speak about the people behind.
I nearly said something that I shouldn't say.
Okay.
Very controversial. You know, mind you, now I'm learning how to say apparently. You know.
And allegedly.
You know.
Hypothetically.
You know. Your video on Mutsip. But it's crazy how we are led to believe something.
Yeah.
And on the other side, he's not dead, or he is dead.
Yeah.
Because G-Force was saying, he's the one. This is the guy.
Yeah.
Even when they said it's not him, they still were fighting it, and they were pushing that narrative aggressively. You know, and anyone who wrote anything else, they would say this is fake news. They had major publications saying that's fake news.
Yeah.
How? Like literally, but like, and then now they're like, oh, we didn't know. They were asking him about Tanzania and why they had to charter a plane.
Yeah.
You know.
They were brought back in. So, as you guys know, of course, they were found in Tanzania, I think 10 kilometers from the Kenyan border.
Yeah.
I think they were going to Kenya. They apparently went via Zimbabwe. And to be brought back, they were chartered in with, I think it's a private jet. I stand to be corrected. Questions are being asked. Whose private jet? Why? Why is this case being... And they weren't even in handcuffs. I think there was a picture of Dr. Nandipa, with a cell phone in her jacket.
But that's in Nike on Nike. You know, but like I'm looking at it and I'm saying, they were saying, Uti, the police have their own jets. There's all these other things. If you look at illegal foreigners in this country, when they get deported, they all get put in certain places.
Yeah.
Once the numbers, they get put on a train, then you get sent to your country. You know, the fact that he's an illegal in Tanzania means Uguti, their government could have processed him on their own. The same way that we have illegal foreigners that we process as well.
He's committing a crime in Tanzania by being there.
So you look at all these things and it's just not adding up.
Yeah.
And now we're chartering. Who's paying for these chartered planes? Tax. Like, I don't get what's happening, you know. And again, they find him with a fake, and they didn't even say it's fake. They said America needs to disprove if it's fake or not. So they can't say that the American passport that he has is fake until America, because America is the one that now has to say, no, it's a fake one. So it could be a legit one. They could both have legit American passports, you know, and in and out wherever. So, hey, there's too many questions.
Part of the work that Oliver Met and Ground Up had done was in finding out that there apparently are two high-level government officials involved, and that I think there were 3 or a few correctional services officials involved, and we don't know if that's ever going to come out. We have to remember we live in a country where, to this day, 2023, we have not solved the arms deal scandal.
Yeah, billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Senzo Meiwa, we have not convicted anyone
Who was
to this
shot,
day.
killed in a room full of people.
In a room full of people.
Yeah.
We've recently AK and Tips,
Yeah.
as an example. We've got Life's Dimeni, we've got Marikana where miners were shot down.
Yeah.
And these are just some of the more popular cases. There are other cases. There's money looted for COVID relief where no one has been arrested to this day. You know, one of the presidential hopefuls, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, was implicated with his son in digital vibes and money that was looted through corruption there, and nothing's happened. Cyril Ramaphosa and Palapala, that's the country we're living in right now.
I bought wings from Rocco Mamas that have disappeared from my fridge.
How?
And that case is also not solved.
I think I know who the suspects are.
What in Zuma in a broken country with broken zonke lezi zinto nje lezi.
Yeah.
These unsolved crimes. But again,
What do you think? So this is unfair, and I'm asking you to give a personal opinion.
Sure.
This is not a fact. This is not. What do you fundamentally think? We have got an ANC government running the country since 1994. We're in 2023 now. We've had Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, Kgalema Motlanthe, Jacob Zuma, Cyril Ramaphosa running this country. We are seeing state-owned enterprises and the like collapsing. We are seeing overnight billionaires. We are seeing these criminal cases. We are seeing layered cases now. What do you actually think is happening in this country?
I don't think it's just happening in this country. I think it's an African thing. I think, again, a new Belgium is coming to take over. A new something. So in order to, you first need to strip something to its nothingness.
There's a term called neo-colonialism, which is a new form of colonialism where you're not using weapons and oppressing people, but it's either pharmaceuticals, the banking system, money, the economy.
I 100% think that there is that whole...
We've had the Gold Mafia documentary as well by Al Jazeera, which now recently has implicated ex-President Jacob Zuma, Cyril Ramaphosa and his children, and the late king of the Zulus, Zwelithini, as well.
It's crazy, Unalungelo. Again, going back to what I'm saying, it's just a gangster state, and I think it's deliberate, breaking everything down. There was a whole narrative around, because they were looking at state-owned enterprises and said, let's privatize them.
Yeah.
But now, if you look at what's happening with G-Force in the prison, that's a private prison where all the shit was happening.
It's like you're privatizing the prisons.
You know? So again, this is happening in state-owned spaces. This is happening in private spaces. The corruption that happens in private spaces is ridiculous. You know, I'm in media and I see they've got these fancy terms in media where we have a trade deal. So if this company advertises with this platform, there's a trade deal and there's a bit of a rev share. You know, all these fancy words, that's bribe, that's a kickback.
Yeah.
You know, so if I do it, if I say, okay, you advertise on my platform, I give you 10%, that's bribery. That's some sort of corruption.
As long as it's disclosed and it's above board.
So now, if I say, let's have a rev share, or let's formulate some sort of trade deal. If you spend X, I give 10% back. In its principle, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You know, so again, the private space, all it does is that it legalizes gangsterism.
Okay.
And when we're seeing it in the public space with the government, these are guys that were trained soldiers. These were guys who are guerrillas. These guys, you've taken, there's gangsters in the streets and then there's gangsters wearing suits. It's the same thing.
Sure.
You know, so I don't know what's happening, dog.
G-Force, for those that don't know, apparently is a British company. Someone said it's private. It's a private military company. I think it might also have links to the US, but it's
crazy.
It's quite scary because I think for me, personally, we hear a lot about cash and transit heists.
Yeah.
G-Force, Fidelity and others. And when you look at the layer of crime that's happening, you start wondering if those cash and transit heists are not planned by the same people. There have been claims in the past that whenever the political season is coming, a lot of the political companies, political parties need money, and some of that money is looted. The cash and transit heist increased at that time. Situations like Palapala, it's hypothetical, where I've heard someone say apparently it's money that came in from the Middle East or somewhere else for the ANC to campaign come 2024, and it's going to be under.
I look at this
buying.
laundry. Laundering?
Money laundering.
Laundering. Uguti, there's very, very popular watering holes where people go by your jive, piano, and you're going to spend 150,000 rand in one night.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of that money can even be paid cash.
Yeah.
You know, and you're thinking.
So you can't trace it.
So you can't trace it.
Yeah.
So again, now as the owner of these spaces, surely there has to be something where you say, Uguti, you're just buying bottles with random girls that you've met, and you're spending 150,000 rand right here today. Aye, man.
But the owners of these places are not financial services businesses.
That's
they don't
also
have
true.
to track
That's also
where
true.
the money comes from.
That's also true.
But now we've got banks who have been implicated as well under the gold mafia documentary. Banks that are involved in rigging currencies, involved in blacklisting people's accounts where there's no proof. We had a situation with Andrew and Tristan Tate in Romania where guys were jailed with no just cause. And it's seen something similar. I said to Tutuzane Zuma, who still hasn't had his bank accounts unfrozen and his assets unfrozen. They tried to do the same with Iqbal Survey of Segunjalo. Meanwhile, Glencore's been found guilty of bribery around the world.
Nothing's happened to them.
We've had Steinhoff and Marcus Joester. We've had so many other people commit certain crimes in this country. They've never had their bank accounts frozen. So the banks are meant to investigate, but those same banks seem to be implicit. Dubai recently just fined KPMG, big auditing firm, I think it's either over 200 million or 400 million US dollars for dodgy audit work that has made investors lose money. In this country, we've had Deloitte, KPMG, and other people mislead. And to what you're saying, we've got thugs in the streets, and then you've got thugs in suits that are CAs, qualified doctors, lawyers. I'm a judge, I'm a whatever, I'm a banker. And they get to do things legitimately, but on the principle or the substance, it's the same crime.
And if I'm a 20-year-old boy, you know, and I finished matric and I don't know what to do with my life, and I'm watching how people are moving from who's getting the girls, who's driving these cars, who's flying here, my mind, it has to happen. Now I just need to find a way and get cash.
Because those are influencers.
No, that's exactly how they
I want to be like Thabo Bester. You blind,
no, how much are driving? I'm a Porsche. How much are driving a 911s? We don't know how they. There's so many guys that are driving these fancy cars, and you ask them, what do you do? And how much that they can't really tell you. I do this.
They say I'm in imports and exports.
Oh, I'm a broker. You know when people say, what do you do? I'm a broker.
Yeah, I run a consulting firm.
I consult. I broke a deal. What the fuck are you doing, bro?
Yeah.
And next thing, you driver like I'm a 911, you can't point, there's my office, there's my... You always nje asazi but ukhona and awukho.
More dollars.
Ukhona but awukho. I know so many people in the media space, abakhona but abekho.
Yeah.
And you see them driving these amazing cars, and you see them, and I'm just going, 1 and 1 here can't equal 10. I made
a really dope video with Usiano Dumi at AMP Studios.
Yeah.
And I gave a hypothetical example of money laundering using Patrice Motsepe as an example. Stevens Skosana, I think that's the guy's name on TikTok, shared that clip.
Yeah.
I think as we sit here today, it's probably done over 400,000 views.
Crazy.
So it's hypothetical. I emphasized that 3 times, and people are like,
it's hypothetical. It is hypothetical. Yeah.
It's scary how many people in the comments were saying, even if it was true, I would love to be used like that.
Yeah.
And that speaks to what you're saying now.
Hey guys, I think you said
I also want to be captured by Rob Hessoff. Rob must capture me. That's the world we live in today.
Oh, bro.
So we'll shut that down, and we're going to obviously have our eyes glued to the Thabo Bester case. I've said on Twitter a couple of times that one of my concerns is what happens with mainstream media is one story gets so much spotlight that you forget, a.k.a. Costa Teach, forget Pala Pala. Right now, what I want to speak about is two laws that have come in. I don't know if you've studied the one, but I can speak to it. The one is Cyril Ramaphosa has signed in a law around employment equity. The second one is the South African...
Is that the BEE one?
It's BEE, Black Economic Empowerment.
Yeah.
And then the South African Post Office, SAPO, has been placed under provisional liquidation. I don't know if you did research. I'm also happy to speak to those things
can you
as
speak
well.
to the second one? I've been reading a little bit about the BEE one.
Okay, I'll let you speak about the
and
BEE
at its
one.
surface level, just add me to what I'm saying. Before, BEE, it was only for if you had what? If you wanted to make, your company wanted to make business with the government.
Okay.
And my understanding that the new amendments to the law is that if your company that has 50 or more staff members or employees,
Let me try and break it down a bit further. So,
because my understanding was like, no man, this doesn't seem...
So Black Economic Empowerment was a policy that was set to redress the economic imbalances.
Fact.
White people, thanks to apartheid laws, British colonization laws, they got to exploit black labor to build their businesses.
Yeah.
And the ANC government, with CODESA and other stakeholders, said, we will try and reshift and balance out the scales by saying you will offer shares to black people, you will hire black people in your companies, employment equity, you will make sure there's social economic development in certain spaces, amakasi, and other such things. Sadly, we saw a few people become overnight billionaires, and we haven't really seen proper
Go
BEE.
down to grassroots, yeah.
So that's at its basic.
Yeah.
So this new law, which was actually passed in Parliament last year, I don't know if it's May or June 2022 or March, but sometime last year in Parliament, it was passed. Once it's passed, it's a law. Now Cyril just needs to sign. So he signed that in recently where he was saying, in the past, to do business with the government, you needed to follow that. If you're in private practice, you don't really need to.
If you don't want to
It's
do
like
any
we'd like
business,
to balance out the past, but if you want to work with business, of which businesses got
government,
a budget of over 2 trillion a year, if you want to do business with the government, doesn't matter who you are. You could be supplying toilet paper to a school, you could be macro, you could be pick and pay. If you're going to supply government at some level, you must be transformed, which hasn't really happened the way it should have. So in the past, it was that, and it was, if you have 50 or more employees in your company, or if you make a certain turnover, you had to comply. The new change now comes in is, if you have under 50, you don't have to comply. Which now...
That's where the devil comes in.
Now it raises alarm bells in my head.
Yeah.
Because now you could be making 50 billion.
But there's 8 of you.
As long as you have 49 employees. Now, as a business person, as a smart criminal, you will make sure that every business division you have has 49 employees.
Yeah.
And therefore, you never have... So, Shanduga, as Cyril's company, Bidvest, as a Brian Joffe company, Naspers, as long as the holding company has 49 employees,
it's done.
They don't need to meet the BE requirements.
And I read this and I was like, no, man, this year...
Loopholes, like immediate loopholes.
So, 50 is that's the number.
Yeah.
I was like,
so I'm a paying member of AfriForum. I get dragged for being a paying member of AfriForum, of which I've said before why I contribute. I like the work they do.
Yeah.
But they're not happy with the new law, and they're coming from a white angle where they already think BEE is racist and reverse racism. People are saying with this signing in of this law, it's going to force more companies, because now what's happening is you speak about companies that supply government. Now it's going to be all companies. This is going to apply to all companies, whether you supply government or not. The other thing is Cyril Ramaphosa and the government are going to be setting up new regulators to track this. They're going to come and inspect and audit to make sure that you are compliant. And there's going to be other more stringent things which they feel are going to hamper business for foreign investment, for white companies who are like, well, we create jobs, we add value. Why must we stick to this? Because all that's going to do, according to an AfriForum and other white businesses who are anti this, it's going to just create more opportunities for Cyril, Patrice, Saki, Mzikumalo, and all these incumbent rich black elite to just eat more. Because it's going to be, there's this new law, put my son there, put my daughter there, put my wife there, and it's not actually going to do what it's meant to do, which is empower the masses. As we're seeing, our economy is messed up and our SOEs are collapsing. So how is a law like this going to help in any way?
As you feel helpless. Like, think of COVID, where whether you liked it, didn't like it, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
You know, you saw soldiers being
Deployed.
and beating up our cockbaits, you know, and there's nothing you can do. You think of the world of AI, where there's certain things where there's nothing you can do. You can't live without a cell phone, you
Yeah.
know. Therefore, you can't live without Google. You can't live without being tracked somehow. And you just feel so defeated in that sense. We're seeing Thabo Bester, we're seeing Ramaphosa, and we're like, we can see Ramaphosa is being a gangster. We can see what he's doing. We can see that no justice is happening with him and all this cash and what he's done. And when and you wake up every morning and you try and grind and you try and put a bit of food on the table, and you're like, what's the point?
Because you're powerless.
Because I'm running. It's like I'm running on a treadmill.
Yeah.
You know, and we think Uguti
From Joburg to Cape Town, but you're on a treadmill.
but you're on a treadmill. And what you think Uguti, the more you study and now saying a PhD, the more all you're doing is that you're just upping the speed on this treadmill. And a lot of us are
Running faster, nowhere.
guys are getting burnt out, guys are getting depressed, guys are getting this, guys are getting this. And you watch it and you're going, and those guys who are literally just walking next to you are getting further. Ustom Stomoza, who has zero, he wakes up whenever he wants to wake up. He doesn't do fuck all, he can't do fuck all, he doesn't have, but because he's aligned with certain gangsters, next thing, he's successful.
Sure.
And ngempela, like, I don't know.
Makes you feel powerless.
Yeah, man, you feel powerless, you feel defeated, you just feel like,
And then you start listening to white people saying, I'm moving to Canada.
I'm moving to Australia, Mary.
I've had it.
On the second part, our state-owned enterprises are in shambles
Yeah.
as a country.
Yeah.
The current minister is Pravin Gordhan,
Yeah.
who the mainstream media seems to never report on as a bad person.
Yeah, never.
Who obviously
They love
reports to the president, Cyril Ramaphosa. Eskom load shedding turns 16 this year. Happy birthday, baby.
Boo, 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 boo.
That's load shedding from back in Thabo Mbeki days, and he
Yeah.
tried to privatize Eskom back then and he failed. SAA, South African Airways, has been sold. Denel, which was manufacturing weapons, is gone. And now the South African Post Office is under provisional liquidation. So provisional means when a process, it hasn't been finalized. If the South African Post Office gets finally liquidated, over 10,000 people are going to lose jobs. Now, 10,000 people is not 10,000 people, it's them and their dependents. So if I've got my woman and my 2 kids, and then I have to pay black tax to 4 other people, you can imagine 10,000 becomes 50,000, becomes
Black tax,
100,000. You include all the businesses they currently support now that are going to collapse. The South African Post Office has about 4.4 billion rand in debt that they owe people. They've got 1,300 branches, which in the recent years have not been paying rent to the landlords, so landlords are not getting paid. As much as they're trying to pay salaries to their 10,000 workers, they owe millions in SARS, so you get your pay, but they're not paying your payee, which is maybe on your pay slip. They're not paying SARS. They're not paying your UIF, which you might need to claim at some point. They're not paying your pension. So you have a pension, but you don't. You know, this is going to be a big mess. They're currently trying to retrench 6,000 people. The unions have striked, so they making it 3,000.
In certain Asian countries or China or whatever, don't like ministers like get hung.
There's a death penalty, I think, in places like South Korea and China if government officials are found guilty of corruption.
Someone, because now we're not talking about private space. Now we're
Who's
talking
going to
about-
find them guilty of corruption?
So
Are they going to call
call each other out.
Are they going to call the Chief Justice? Are they going to call the Constitutional Court? Are they going to call Advocate Dalimpofu? Are they going to call those people like, oh, we're going to find them guilty? Is that who they're going to call? I mean, you look at the picture of Chief Justice Raymond Zondo happily handing over the State Capture Commission reports, the 5 parts, to President Cyril Ramaphosa, smiling.
Yeah.
Now, during the State Capture Commission, Judge Raymond Zondo was not a Chief Justice.
Yeah.
And he was not the one that was touted to be the Chief Justice.
Yeah.
During the proceedings, President Cyril Ramaphosa was implicated by Brian Molife, Matsila Koko, and others with Glencore and Eskom.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you see a picture of him handing over,
Oh God.
of which President Cyril Ramaphosa, who has he has the power to appoint. He
course.
appointed Chief Justice Raymond Zondo as the
course.
Chief Justice. So you might use a China and whatever as the examples of zero tolerance. But who is going to hold those people
Who is going
accountable?
to-
Anyways, let me finish my
Yeah,
South
the
African
post
post
office,
office. So, if you look at the balance sheet, for those that understand accounting, there's an asset register, an asset list, there's the liabilities. The liabilities, what Eskom owes versus what they have, exceeds assets by over 4 billion rand, which means they are technically insolvent currently. They should be liquidated, but we see the implications. What has hurt me is a lot of things. One of them is everyone's like, yeah, but they have to die. We've gone digital. We don't post now, we use email. And you're like, oh, okay, that's valid. But Postnet is on the rise. They do the same service.
Yeah.
You see DSV, DHL. We've seen PEP with PEP Paxi,
Yeah.
which has risen. So the argument that people are moving to digital, it holds. But why are these new private companies making so much money where the post office used to be the cheapest? What hurts me further is our government officials. They have share portfolios. They're allowed to have share portfolios. Like, oh, but they should earn well. They have share portfolios in these companies.
In these private companies.
Whether it's private healthcare,
Yeah.
private courier, private schooling, where they send their
private
kids.
securities, all these
If
things.
I am an individual and I know I will only be in power for 4 or 5 years, where does my allegiance lie? In my personal wealth and my well-being, or making sure that we have world-class hospitals, schools, post offices where I will not make money? Yes, it's great, but I'm not rich.
In the perfect world, you have, if you are, if you work for the government,
Yeah.
then you should send your children to a government school,
You,
government hospitals.
you should be legally forced because
that.
then you have a direct interest
Yeah,
in
making
the
sure-
betterment.
Yeah, one. And you see them, and they have. I was Peggy was saying, Guti, something about him taking away guns from citizens.
Yeah.
You know, legal guns from citizens. And this guy is speaking, and he's surrounded by private security,
Yeah.
carrying shotguns.
Private security.
Private security.
Emphasize the private security.
He's surrounded by private security, carrying these huge monster guns. And I'm like, the hypocrisy. Like, do you never look? Like, just do what Raymond, Ronald,
Minister Ronald Lamula.
Ulamula, just laugh. As you're saying it, oh, let's take away gun. Laugh so that we also can see, there's stupidity in what you say.
Rob Hersoff at a Biz News conference quoted, I don't know if it's the Fifth Amendment in America, the right to carry arms. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the
I
American.
think it's the Second
whatever.
Amendment.
But he quoted it in saying the right to carry arms, part of it, there's many reasons, but part of it is to protect yourself against the tyranny of the state.
Yeah, tyrannical
Now, in
government.
basic English, what that means is if ever your government becomes a gangster mafia government and is corrupt, you should at all times have the right to protect yourself
Against them.
against the criminals that are your government.
Yeah.
And our government, which we are arguing, have become criminals,
Yeah.
want to take our guns away so that they are the only people,
Who
the
are
soldiers with the police, with private security, who have the guns and can squeeze us and threaten us at any given time.
Seeing how shit our justice system is.
We saw this with the
seeing how
looting and the
crap
rioting, where the
with
taxi
SAP.
industry and ordinary citizens having to protect themselves because there weren't enough cop cars,
Yeah.
there weren't enough cops with guns.
Tabang.
You've got a mob coming to attack you. You're calling 10-111 and they're like, I ask van. You're trying to call busy somewhere. What must I do? Because you guys said I mustn't have a gun.
That's like going to schools that don't have textbooks and then being told that you're not allowed to buy a textbook on yourself. By
Sure.
yourself.
Or you're not allowed to get information online.
At all. But okay, can you supply me with textbooks? Sorry, we don't have budget.
So the South African Post Office is about to die.
This is fucking
I
stupid.
had an opportunity to speak with, I think it's the current CEO, a black female, black lady. She seemed very positive, and I told her in the conversation that, number one, I think these things are intentionally done.
Yeah.
She said there's no such thing.
Of course.
And I asked her, because currently we had 19 million grant recipients every month. There were another 10, 11 million were added with the 350 SRD, Social Relief for Distress. I asked her, currently Post Office gives out 7 million of the 30 million. Why do you not force everyone to get their grants at the post office? Why do you not force everyone to have a bank account, post bank? Because that automatically gives us at least 30 million people that are forced to have a post bank account.
was our
That
first
becomes a
bank
state
account.
bank.
Do you remember?
That was our first account. Your mom went and got us
Yeah.
when it was still a booklet.
Yeah, that was
My
our first
2000,
account,
don't know
yeah.
what we're talking about. It wasn't a card. It wasn't an app. It was a book. If you wanted to withdraw money, you have to fill in, boy, and go and submit. You know, that's already at least 30 million.
Yeah.
Post bank, and that becomes our state bank.
Yeah.
Secondly, force all government workers to have a post bank account and have their salaries paid in there.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's 3 million. I'm not sure. 1.5 to 3 million government workers, teachers, nurses,
Police
cops,
officers, yeah.
traffic administrators. All of a sudden, you've got a state bank. But what is the incentive there if I have shares in ABSA,
In ABSA,
Standard Bank, Nedbank?
you know, yeah.
I even asked her something like, okay, look, it's the president's brother, Cyril Patrice.
Yeah.
He's got Time Bank. Why not get Time Bank to use the 1,300 branches of post office to operate from? And
Yeah.
you'll say, we work with Time Bank.
Yeah.
At least all Time Bank account holders also work with the post office. Why not work with PEP, partner with PEP, and say it's a partnership between the South African Post Office and PEP Paxi? Because you guys already have branches. You have infrastructure, and have PEP Paxi have some of their stuff not sent to a PEP, but sent to a post office, so that rev share. You share some, at least show that you're making an effort. But you guys are literally destroying this thing.
No, there's
And
obviously
you
an agenda.
turn post offices into Wi-Fi hotspots, where kids go there for free Wi-Fi.
We were driving through the Free State, no? And we were seeing railway lines.
Yeah.
The roads are disgusting.
Yeah.
And there's trucks and there's all this. And we're seeing railway lines where we're seeing, Guti, they are not being utilized for what it was meant to be utilized
Yeah.
for. And you're Guti, man, again, if
Like
I'm
basically you're struggling with trucks on shit road when the truck's goods are meant to be on the train.
On the trains.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the way that some taxis drive on the road and the way that they go past traffic officers, and you're like, why aren't they getting arrested? Why? Then you realize that some traffic officers
Yeah.
own Amatex. Then you're like, so why would I arrest?
There are politicians that own taxis and trucks.
So why would I arrest, if I work for JMPD, why would I arrest the driver of my taxi?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You know, so
Or
you-
my friend's taxi.
or my friend's taxi. And then
Yeah.
you start looking at it as you move up, going back to Thabo Bester, whatever the case is. If I own shares in GeForce,
Yeah.
if I own this, if I'm connected to that, you think about, I think also we're talking about Twitter, they've got some evidence, or they were speaking to Thabo Bester around this case, but they can't, obviously for legal reasons, post it. And you're like, Azi, we're being held captive. Angazi lunga,
You spoke about misinformation, and
Yeah.
there's a nice interview you guys must go check out of Intonase Pretoria Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Was watching Pretoria Boys and Kes over the weekend in Houghton
Shout
at
out
King
Kes.
Edward School. King Edward beat Pretoria Boys, even though they made a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
but we're not going to focus on that.
School
Shout out
rugby.
to the boys, shout out to the coaches, shout out to the director of rugby at Kes,
Oh.
Mziwake Nkosi,
Nkosi.
and his team and the entire team, the coaches at first team level. Shout out to the Pretoria Boys
Yeah.
guys. We've got mates from there, Yannick Wombo, Chili Boy Ralepele. But anyways, Elon Musk, Simpiwe Moyo, number 10 of Kes, a talent to watch out for. A talent to watch out for.
Well done, boys. Well done. You guys did well. Elon Musk. and
Elon Musk
James,
has a conversation with the BBC journalist,
James, what's James' surname? James whatever. Yeah.
and they speak about misinformation, and the BBC journalist was asking him, but Twitter has removed the COVID label.
Yeah.
Like, this might be misinformation.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you guys at BBC have not apologized for your misinformation.
Yeah.
BBC historically has made a lot of wild things, and they've never gone back. The guy was like, look, we're not here to speak about BBC.
Yeah.
We're here to speak about you. Please go check it out.
Yeah.
Please go check it out. We're not going to speak about the detail. I just want to send a shout out to the Pretoria Boys old boy. I think he also went to Bryanston High at some point.
Yeah.
Bryanston High can claim him Nyana. I just want to hear your thoughts around.
It was phenomenal. And I love the fact that while he was getting interviewed, he did Twitter Spaces at the
Yeah.
same time. Because we know what these fuckers do. You
They
know?
edit.
So this here, ne, and I've seen this with your videos as well,
Yeah.
where people will just, that 10 seconds, and then they'll shit all over you on
Yeah.
Twitter, whatever. And you're like, if you had watched the interview, even if you just watched the 10 seconds before this 10 seconds, and then the 10 seconds after, you know. So you look at people and you're like, this is bullshit, and this is what the people in media have been doing for years,
Yeah.
you know.
Curating information for propaganda purposes.
And the fact that he did Twitter Spaces at the same time, I think is just an absolute game changer.
Sure.
I think every single...
And it's live. It's live.
live.
It's unedited. It's
I
uncensored.
think
Whatever.
From this point on,
Yeah.
any big politician, any big person, whoever is saying, oh, I'll go on your platform, but I will do an Instagram live. I'll do a Facebook
If it's
live.
not live,
It's fine. Or I'll record it as well. I'll have my crew as well.
Yeah.
Let's say you want to be the first to break the story.
sure.
Sharp, when you drop on Wednesday, I'll drop the full one on Thursday.
Sure.
You know, on MySpace. So
Yeah.
that should people want to watch the full one, you know, then they can watch mine.
Sure.
Unedited. Straight like that. And I think, like, when I was listening to Elon Musk, like, tear James apart, and I really think he did it amazingly, where he was like, you lied. Because James was talking about, wasn't talking about hate speech. He was but there's wording that these guys use.
Yeah.
You know, it's no longer good, oh, but you guys are saying hate speech, or you guys are pushing, but they'll say things like, you will be posting hurtful things.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll point it, you know, like when people use words like, he coerced me.
Yes.
You know, like, what does that mean?
Nuanced words.
Nuanced words that
Yeah.
live in that gray.
In a gray
Yabon.
space.
And the way that this guy was saying
I
around...
don't feel safe.
I don't feel
I'm
safe.
not comfortable.
You know,
Like, I didn't do anything. No, I don't feel safe. Your words are violent.
He was using words like slightly What does that mean?
Yeah.
When you say, because there's hate speech, which is illegal. You know, when you're saying something is slightly hateful,
Yeah.
you're playing
in a gray space.
You know, so is it hate speech?
Yeah.
What is it that people are writing? Give me an example. And the guy couldn't give an example. He was like, no, but you said it. So give me an example. You said you experienced on your feed hate speech.
Just give me like anecdotal, your own
Just
personal
give me an
experience.
example. Angiti, so that you saying Wuti as Twitter, we're no longer blocking those people.
Yeah.
Who are those people? What did they say? Give me
Yeah.
an example. Hey, what should I go, James? And it's like, you can't say things are slightly hateful and then
Yeah.
wanting us to rush to your defense.
Yeah.
And then, because free speech is when someone you don't like
Yeah.
says something you don't
You
like.
don't like. Elon says that in the interview.
And you're thinking,
That is freedom of speech.
that's freedom of speech.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm looking at, because I've just started a Twitter journey, and I'm like, people have rights to have their own opinions.
Yeah.
You know, obviously it's not nice when you're attacking me personally. You know, sorry, I'm going to go off topic and I'm going to come back. Because there's something where you're posting about ladies. And I said to this one person, Wuti, you made a blanket statement based on your opinion.
Yeah.
If I say, I don't want to date Zulu people
Yeah.
because Zulu people are aggressive, as a blanket generalization based on my opinion.
Yeah.
I am not saying I don't want to date Zulu people by the name of Pensin Mlocho, Waifundi, Newcastle High, Wakweta. I'm not making it personal like that.
Yeah.
You know, because I understand when people say men are trash, they're saying it as a blanket statement. They're not saying, Nanjabulo, your father, who is Yabon. And I'll watch Twitter play between those spaces where girls will say certain things as a general,
Yeah.
and then guys will take it personal. Saying, yo, well, then fuck you. She's like,
Sure.
she's making a general statement. She's
Yeah.
saying, I prefer to have
Yeah.
And if you also want to say a general statement, then say, I don't want to date girls that prefer to date Yeah, but, and then play in that space. And I was watching that interview, and it was this James guy, I forget his surname,
Let me get his surname while
you
you're
know,
speaking.
trying to play between the spaces. When it suits him, he's going to generalize. And then when he wants to attack Elon, he makes it personal.
Sure.
You know, and then he'll say things where, well, in my experience, because it's obviously tough. And then he'll say something that is very off. And then when Elon calls him to order, you know, he'll say, well, some people say, of course some people are racist. Some
Sure.
people are sexist. Some people are, we get that. But when you say something that's very personal, and then I say, okay, sure, give me an example of it. Give me an example of it, and then you struggle, and then you go, well, some people said that. Like, what are you saying? So give me like a huge shout out to Elon Musk.
James Clayton.
James Clayton, yes, there
Sorry,
you go.
my phone is reacting slowly for some reason. I had it on flight mode. I don't know if that's why.
Yeah, so again, shout out to Elon, because I think he's changed the game. He's changed the game. He said, BBC, you guys have been lying for years, not just BBC, all these major platforms. You guys have been lying for years. If you guys want an interview with me,
Sure.
understand, Uguti, I will be live here.
I also have my own media platform.
I have my media platform. I will be live
Yeah.
so that you can't spin this.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure, Guti, you guys have been chopping and changing, uncensored with English guy, Piers Morgan. You know, Piers Morgan, there's an interview that he did, again, exactly like him, but he was, again, smart to have his own crew.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. They cut it. You know, they had certain things that he said at the end when they played the interview on their platform, like on the BBC or whatever the thing. It was like the end was at the beginning, and then the beginning was like in the middle.
Sure.
But they moved the interview to look as if he came in like militant, and he's like, but that wasn't the flow of. That's,
Sure.
You moved chapter 6 to chapter 1,
Yeah.
chapter 2 to chapter 9, and then he's like, this is it, boom.
Yeah.
You know, me answering that answer is to that question, not this question.
Yeah.
You know, it has nothing to do. You just heard me saying Amazulu, and then you cut the Amazulu, and then someone said, what soccer team do you support? Amazulu, and you're like, no, fam.
Sure.
Like it can't be that disgusting, you know. And that's media, and that's I think what Elon has.
Has fought against.
Yeah, and just put a spotlight, and you know, you just.
Let's shut this down. We're
Yeah.
out of time. I'm going to say this. I want to give a shout out. I have given a shout out before. I'll give a shout out again at This Is Colbert on Twitter. Really appreciate you, bro. You put a lot of our clips on Twitter. You make them trend. You drive a lot of traffic to our full videos, which I
Thank you
appreciate.
so much, brother. Thank you.
But at This Is Colbert has been a bit reckless at times.
Yeah.
And it's not just him. It's a lot of us, especially on Twitter and other social media platforms where we become like mainstream media.
Yeah.
We take out a clip that we know is going to be inflammatory. It's going to get people to talk. It's going to trend. It's going to be controversial. As much as you put a link, go watch the full thing here. You guys know most people will not go and do that.
No.
And I was accused, I'm not going to speak to it, I was accused of saying nasty things, Mac G and Sol, Podcast and Chill. I'm going to put it in the comments, if not the description here. Please go watch the full video. But let's please be more responsible in how we use our social media platforms, because social media has given us an opportunity to get the full context of everything.
Yeah.
But people with bigger accounts, could be us, we have an opportunity to play towards propaganda. Where there's a full 2-hour video, and we know you guys will never watch it, and we take 30 seconds where someone says something inflammatory, and that becomes the story. And I've seen with that clip, there are newspapers in South Africa who went and ran with that story. And whoever the journalists may be there,
That's
never
lazy.
took the time
lazy.
to go and watch the full context.
Oh, that's lazy.
It's always easy for them later to be like, we apologize, we made a mistake. No one cares anymore.
Yeah.
Because that becomes the narrative. And that's the power of propaganda.
Yeah.
And it's the reason why we even have podcasts, vodcasts to begin with, so that we can tell our story. Because if we didn't have these platforms, we wouldn't be able to come and defend ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for. But guys, let's please be responsible. Make sure you post the clips. We appreciate it. And look, maybe that's something that stood out for you, but make sure that there's context. Otherwise, one day, and this was one of the conversations we'll have on another day with Nota and AKA, one day the tables turn on you, where someone was accused of something which was false and a story was run, and then the tables turn and then it becomes you. And when it's time for you to get defended, those people will be like, no, we're not involved. You never defended us.
Yeah.
So let's just be responsible. Gay handshake, and let's call it. Boom. Anything else you want to say in closing?
No, man. Like I'm learning a lot on this journey.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot, and I'm very, very appreciative. And again, new on Twitter, but just learning how to maneuver that space and understanding. There's so many people who are just naturally just toxic.
Yeah.
Especially
People
those
are
that,
sad. People are
especially
sad.
those that are hiding. You know, he's got like the trolls. And one of the things that I'm trying to do, even when I'm engaging with them,
Yeah.
I always try just have a great day, or where do you come from? And then if it becomes too toxic, then I'll block you and move on.
Twitter's a
you
mob,
know.
bro.
But like, I'm also just trying to also understand human behavior
Yeah.
and the sociology of all of it, and just going, Because I think, again, if we can understand Twitter and we can use it, we'll better understand society.
Sure.
I think, well, at least a portion
Twitter's a
of
mob,
it.
bro. Some people
You
are
know.
sad. They're not there to be. You try to educate. You try to
Yo,
be positive.
abanindaba diaspora.
Uma Blair, who's on KFM, Blessing Cele, that I went to varsity with, said something
I saw him
profound.
at Pick and Pay. It was
That's
so
dope.
Cool. Yeah.
Uma Blair said, Twitter became a monster the day ordinary human beings that are nobodies realize that they can sucker punch huge people out there
Yeah.
with a comment, with a response, with an allegation.
Yeah.
As soon as they found that power,
Yeah.
it's like a security guard with a boom gate.
Yeah.
It gave them everything, and it's become a mob. And people don't want to hear your side.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear. So you need to maneuver around realizing who are the people that are beyond redemption
Yeah.
and block, and where necessary.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to. I've had to learn this the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
Try and
ignore.
figure out who is worth their response.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
sometimes
leave it, because the mob doesn't. They're there for entertainment. They're
But
not
I
there
wish
to
what
actually learn.
Jordan Peterson speaks about, Guti, Twitter, it can't be anonymous. Like whatever, like
In time.
there's certain
In
things. that
time,
people-
everyone will
where-
need to be verified
where-
on Twitter, and we'll
where-
need to
where
know
I
who you
say-
are.
Where I say, I just wish that some of the things, even if you disagree, even if it's not aggressive,
Yeah.
just be courageous enough to have your real name and
Yeah.
picture, then say it. Or when you see me on the streets, say, hey, Penzin, bro, I actually don't like your haircut. Say it then, and let's engage. But anyway, let's
Suggestion
not
to
get lost.
Elon Musk and the Twitter team: building the algorithms, because I know Elon is pretty open, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let's allow abstract companies to have Twitter pages. Let's allow abstract people. Let's say you want to speak about the environment or whatever the case may be. That's
Yeah.
fine. But let's try and build coding where as soon as someone says something personal to someone else, they need to be held to account to then expose their name and their face. Otherwise, those comments get deleted.
Yeah.
Or over time, your account gets blocked. Because it's one thing to, you say something about the environment and
Yeah.
an environmental page says, this is how we feel about the environment. It's another thing when someone comes to say something personal.
Yeah.
And then if you can flag it, this is a personal comment or response, then it should immediately be like, because you are a generic page, we'll delete that comment, or you now need to come forward and say who you are so that you can be held accountable.
I
for what you're
wish,
saying.
sorry, and again, we meant to wrap up. I wish on my Twitter, the only people that engage on my Twitter, I don't want to use verified because we think of that blue tick, but I want people who have been vetted in the sense of there's your face, there's your name, there's your cell phone number. I'll change my, I'll like a WhatsApp.
Not
group,
cell phone
or
number,
whatever
but I
the
hear
case
what you're
is.
saying.
But those are the only people that can see my stuff, and I
Yeah.
can only see their stuff. You know,
Real human
And
beings.
real human beings with an email address and says lives in KZN or Durban, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You know, where I can go a little bit more granular and I say how Togozani utin manje, you know, and I can how Togozani Dladla uhlala eSoweto.
Their lives get put on a spotlight.
Yeah, I then but the fact that there's trolls and there's what bots, unknowns
Yeah.
that have access to my Twitter, and I
Yeah.
can't make it private, you know, or only allow certain people in. I don't like that.
The Pen and Pen Show. We'll see you guys soon.
All right,
Cheers.
Ukraine,
Ngikrendi.
Ukraine.
What do you mean
I
ngikrendi?
don't ask if you're good. I don't know how you're doing.
Because you don't fucking care, that's why.
Welcome to the virtual Mkuku, Umkuku wako wolwazi, the Mkuku of education. Let's go.